what the book hopefully does is inspire you to think about all the sayings that you've been exposed to in your life and think of all that stimulus. I mean, we're like the bees buzzing around a beehive. Like there's just words around us coming out of our cell phones everywhere. And so if you can try to trim up those words and lean into kind of one word that defines your day or makes you feel is your North Star or makes you feel emotionally light or fit, it's a great way to kind of filter the day, digest your whole day, wrap it up in a nice bow. My one word is connect. I feel that as long as I'm connected, I'm good, and it's usually a word you don't necessarily think it is, your first try at it. So that's what that book is about thinking about all the words and then thinking about your word that could help you manage your day and your life better.
Hi there, it's Kanika. Get ready for another season of That's Total Mom Sense, where I interview global thought leaders on their life stories, the legacy they're passing on to their kids, and of course, their mom sense and dad sense superpower.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
Hey, I'm Daphne Oz.
Hi, I'm Shani Darden.
Hi, this is Christelle Lynn.
Hi, I'm Bhavna Shyamalan.
Hi, this is Tony Leroy.
Hi, I'm Shannon Lee.
Hi, I'm Farnoosh Tarabi.
Hi, this is Michael Perry, founder of Maple, and you're listening to me on That's Total Mom Sense.
It's our mission to be inclusive, so we're having dads pull up a seat at the table. Tune in to my new monthly segment, What Matters Most with Maple, featuring my co-host, Michael Perry, tech founder and devoted father of two. Thank you to my brand partners, community, and you, yes, you, for making this podcast possible. Episodes release every Thursday. Join my tribe by logging on to thatstotalmomsense.com and subscribe wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Creator of the renowned fitness class Nalini Method and the national education nonprofit NaliniKIDS, Rupa Mehta has been featured on The Kelly and Michael Show, NBC, Fox 5 Morning News, and in Vogue Magazine, The New York Times, and Forbes. Her signature approach to wellness is exemplified by a focus on both physical and emotional health. Coined the Mommy Transformer by Urban Baby when she helped shape up new moms in no time, Rupa is now teaching us how to transform our perspective on the parent-child relationship with her fresh take on modern motherhood with her new book, Someone Calls Me Mommy. She is thrilled to be birthing this book that enhances the miraculous experience of motherhood while pregnant with her second child, due just a week before Mother's Day. I don't want to take a nappy. My rain boots are happy. Celebrated educator and author Rupa Mehta heard those gleeful words from her toddler last year after a long morning of puddle-jumping. That innocent, simple, and poetic sentence reminded Rupa of her late mother, Nalini, who sadly passed away a year prior. Inspired by her mom and daughter's uncanny similarities, Rupa tapped into her child's emerging voice and began profusely writing poetry from her and her daughter's perspective. What started out as a cathartic, artistic journey evolved into a book of 100 poems and illustrations with a fresh take on motherhood. And that is Someone Calls Me Mommy. We're going to dive into her book and her fitness philosophy and emotional health on this episode. Rupa, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy that I'm able to share your light with my audience. Rupa, you are a soul sister. I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And you've just added so much joy and made me feel more secure and like a better person. I can't stop singing your praises. I love you.
I love you too. This is the feeling is mutual from the second we met to now. We always have deep, thoughtful conversations and missions in life. And I feel honored to be part of your world today.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to start with how we met because it's an interesting story. We were both in New York, and I remember it was through a job posting that you had posted for Nalini Method. And I thought, wow, this woman who happens to be Indian as well is this fitness guru. And I want to learn more about her classes and her brand. And so I showed up for class and, we did an interview after and I met your team. And I feel like what I found to be most compelling was how your face lit up when you spoke about NaliniKIDS. And though I didn't take the job because I realized I have to use that same passion and rigor that you had to figure out what my dream was. So I went on my own path that way, but right away was like, I'm signing up for a membership. I'm coming to class. I want to see more of you and I want to support what you're doing. And you had that effect on me and you have that effect on so many people who are in your orbit. They just see the light and the intention you bring to whether it's fitness or education or parenting or kids or now motherhood. And they just are like, sign me up. I'm there. I want to be part of your bandwagon.
That's so nice. How do I follow up from that? You know what? I think naming a business after your mom does keep you accountable in a different way. I always wanted to create a welcoming atmosphere. And I remember when we first met, you said like your one word was believe, I believe.
Yes, yes, that was right.
You were really kind of talking about believing in yourself to take that kind of that entrepreneurial jump. And it was just, I don't know, it was very kismet how we kind of connected that way. And I've always been passionate about kids because I've always felt so lucky that I had a childhood where someone really cared about me, really nurtured me and challenged me. And it's always felt like a natural duty to try to be in that space.
Coincidentally, Sam, your husband, was also met you through, your work. I remember meeting him for the first time. This was at the STEM workshop we did.
So the STEM workshop was, I guess, our first venture with the New York City Department of Education, combining physical and emotional fitness. And we went to math and science teachers from all 5 boroughs. It was a collection of 25 teachers. And we wanted to teach them about this wellness program. And you remember, it was a 3-day workshop. That first day, they were not into it. I remember the first teacher was, what did she say? She said, "Oh, I signed up for the robotics course. I didn't want to sign up for this." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you."
Right.
And it was hard. And, just to take a step back for your listeners, NaliniKIDS is a program that combines physical fitness and emotional fitness for children kindergarten through 12. And I wanted to add that academic layer and kind of build it within the Department of Education, which is why we aligned with STEM.
Yes.
We did a workshop. And by day 3, we were having amazing conversations about, if you're talking about happiness, as a science teacher, you can talk about the effect of stress on your body. If you're a math teacher and you're talking about emotional weight, you can measure how heavy the world and words feel in your life and learn about pie charting and graphing and taking surveys. So we were able to really come up with cool ways to integrate physical fitness, emotional fitness, and academic fitness.
Yes, yes. And you chose to kind of go down an uncharted path after college. I mean, it was very commendable for you to not go into medicine or engineering or, the tried and tested. And you knew you had a passion for fitness and so much more. So
well, to be honest, I fell in love with teaching more than fitness. When I was in college, I wanted to start an ice cream business. So I don't know how that would have ended up, but I always was drawn to teaching. I went through something life-changing in my 20s, no need to get into right now, but it caused me to really think about life. And I was in a trustful place. And my dad suggested to me, I start teaching to build up my trust in the world. And I was like, where am I going to start teaching? And he said, that fitness studio you love taking classes at, I'm sure they'd be open to it. So I started out as a receptionist there. It was a famous Lottie Burke Method on the Upper East Side. And then I became a teacher there and I absolutely loved it. It built my trust in the world again. I had so many different clients from so many different backgrounds. It was so unifying to see, no matter how much money you have, no matter your background, no matter how old you are. I felt like I was comforted that everyone was grappling with kind of the similar things. So it built my trust in the world again. And then I decided to open up my own fitness studio and continue kind of building that nurturing, welcoming relationship. As you know, the thing that kind of stuck out to me was that I'd have these clients that were thin, physically in shape, but they felt overweight to me. And then I had like more overweight clients, technically overweight, who felt very light and vibrant to me. And this discrepancy between physical and emotional weight really weighed on me. I really, when I walked into a room and clients would ask me, how much do I weigh? Do you think I'm heavy? All these things. I was like, technically I don't think you are, but yeah, energetically I'm getting a vibe.
You're right. Yeah.
And I think everyone feels those things from other people.
I love that you've simplified it in your first book, Connect to Your One. I have the kids version here, and I can't wait till my kids can read, because this is going to be the first thing I give them as a chapter book to read. It's really impressive. And tell us about why we should all have one word, and how parents and teachers can help kids realize what their one word is that brings them back to center.
I think, the idea is that, you have one body, you work out. If you work it out in different ways, you'll have a different shaped body. If I worked out like a weightlifter or a gymnast or an ice skater, my body is going to shape differently. Same with words. You digest different words in your life, and your emotional weight is going to be affected as a result. What the book hopefully does is inspire you to think about all the sayings that you've been exposed to in your life, and think of all that stimulus. I mean, we're like the bees buzzing around a beehive. Like there's just words around us coming out of our cell phones everywhere. And so if you can try to trim up those words and lean into kind of one word that defines your day, or makes you feel is your North Star, or makes you feel emotionally light or fit, it's a great way to kind of filter the day, digest your whole day, wrap it up in a nice bow. My one word is connect. I feel that as long as I'm connected, I'm good, and it's usually a word you don't necessarily think it is, your first try at it. So that's what that book is about thinking about all the words, and then thinking about your word that could help you manage your day and your life better.
And then another kind of running theme in your work is emotions and moods. And I want to touch on your second book, which is on what the Nalini Method is predicated upon. And you have this very comprehensive workout for your clients. And, I remember going to the studio on a weekly basis in the mornings and feeling so excited, because I felt myself getting stronger. I felt that core strength developing, and the flexibility and the stamina. So not only, do you have your exercises that you guide your clients through, the fact that you have a book that ties in their moods is brilliant. So there's a workout for every mood you're in. So can you tell us a few of those exercises?
At least why I work out, and why I felt like a lot of my clients work out, was just to feel like they were in a better mood, beyond wanting to sculpt their body. But sometimes they just weren't in the mood to work out. Sometimes you feel like all the stars need to align. Like I need to be in a good place to work out, or I'm in a horrible place and I need the workout. But there's so much in between. And so I decided to kind of lean into the most popular things I heard in my classroom. So I came up with the 7 workouts. So it was the anger workout, the energy workout, the stress workout, the chill workout, happiness, doubt, and anxiety. Those were like kind of the popular themes. And I decided to do movements around that. So like the anxiety workout, for example, there's a lot of balancing, because, when you do tree pose and stuff, you might feel subconsciously anxious about falling. So hopefully though, all the workouts really are a physical manifestation of the emotion that is the target.
Yes.
They're like 20, 25 minute workouts that have been laid out in the book.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And for kids, you've kind of simplified the concept where you can associate a word with a physical exercise.
Growing this program within the Department of Education and within the school system, not only did I want to make sure that the mood concept, the emotional and physical weight concept landed, but I wanted to do it in a way where people who felt comfortable with meditation, and also didn't feel comfortable with meditation, kind of felt welcome. So I really leaned into the word workouts concept. So we have things like the confidence workout, the happiness workout. The anxiety workout, they're 2 to 3 minute long videos taught by various fitness instructors that I've met over the years in New York City. And these are all free workouts that, your listeners can do. They're from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade.
Wow. Wow. And so what's an example for when, a kid is learning how to do a push-up? What workout is that?
That is the confidence workout. And we have this workout. There's a plank and a push-up series, and they are challenging workouts. I will put that out there to you. But really every single video, like I said, is 2 to 3 minutes. And it starts off with the dictionary definition of the word. So confidence and whatever that definition is, you have a narrator saying that, and then you have a breakdown of the pose and really leaning into proper posture and positioning in a world where kind of especially younger children programming there's so much stimulus, bright colors coming at you. I really wanted to make sure that on the fitness side, I kept it more Mr. Rogers like almost.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Just kind of calm and slow and kind of making sure that step by step you mastered the workout, but you really mastered the feeling you had during the workout. You understood what that word meant. So these workouts have been super successful. I mean, the NaliniKIDS program, I'm really proud to say, it started out with 13 kids in that school I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And now we've served 250,000 kids nationwide. And it's
oh
great.
My goodness.
Now we're in a place where we can really give our content away for free. So that's really made me happy.
That is incredible. And tell us some of those, stories that touch your heart, because, some of the communities that you're working with are underserved, and you're helping, change the narrative for these kids' lives from the onset.
Oh, I think one of my favorite stories is, I don't know if I ever showed you the video of this young man. He's on our YouTube channel. He's amazing. His name is Sam. Uh-huh. And he is on the spectrum. And he came up to me at graduation and he's like, I love these word workouts because it's like a filing cabinet in my brain. And I'm like an emotional detective now. So he was in, I think, 3rd or 4th grade at the time. So when he got angry or he felt anxious or worried or happy, or, it doesn't have to be just kind of these
negative things. Yeah, of course.
That weigh us down. He felt like he had a go-to physical move. And more than that, he felt like he understood when his palms got sweaty or his face got hot, that physically his body was giving him signs that he needed to then take, his detective hat, put it on and figure out the emotion. And that was really life-changing for him. His teachers, his family spoke to me and told me how much it really changed his attitude towards growing up. He was he was in 5th grade at the time. Now I remember he was about to go into 6th grade and they were worried about his middle school transition. He was more of an isolated child, and he made a lot more friends after the program and felt like more connected to his community in school.
Now I want to just talk about motherhood, and what better person to start with than reminiscing about your mom. But I met Nalini Auntie on many occasions, and she is basically the personification of joy. She was very simple and kind and warm and thoughtful, and was just at baseline happy. Her name in Hindi means lotus. And, I know that you've recounted this in your many speaking engagements and books. Nalini being lotus, it's her, the way she lived her life and the essence of who she was exactly that. The lotus flower can grow from the mud and the muck and find its way to the surface and float on the water, be flexible and adaptable, and blossom and reach for the sun. And that was exactly her. So, the connection you guys share is just, it's so palpable. And I think it's amazing that when you decided to go on your entrepreneurial journey and create this very unique brand that is Nalini Method, NaliniKIDS, you wanted your mom a part of it. It was like, this whole staple is going to basically encapsulate what mom represents, right?
Yeah. You said it so beautifully. I don't know if I could say it any better. Really, she was joy. My mom had a way about her that just made everyone feel very comfortable and confident. And I knew that anything kind of good that I was pursuing in life, there could be the path back to her and her goodness. So having that front and center and be an organizing principle just felt very natural and felt like it had to happen. She just had these like little quick sayings that I just feel like really captured her. Like if I called her and was like, oh, I'm having a tough day, she'd be like, you should just be like Walgreens, hang out on the corner of happy and healthy. Like, just have like these like little, like I'm like, what?
Just little quips to,
like little tips. I remember when I first moved to New York City and I met all these women who like just like looked so young for their age and they didn't have varicose veins and all this stuff. And I was like, there's like this thing going on in New York City. You could fix your varicose veins. And she's like, you could also fix your attitude. I was like, okay, that's true. She just like, she had a confidence about her, but she was like a sassy Mother Teresa, and then a calm about her that was so joyful. She's 4'11", would walk into a room, eyes bright, sparkly, and just had this warm attitude and kind of like, you can do it. And so I feel very lucky that I grew up. I would have taken her as like a grandma, a sister, a friend, a daughter. I would have taken her in any way, shape, or form.
So, I mean, let's talk about what it felt like when she passed. And I know it's something that's, it's really emotional, but you could look at it as an irony, but it's also very poetic to think the year she passed was the year you gave birth to your daughter.
Yeah.
And so there's something metaphorical in that.
Because I was so close to my mom, I think I have the piece of understanding, that we left on good terms. Everything that I needed to say, I said. But no matter how she passes, the family dynamics involved, the not having a mommy, it all hurt, and it hurt more deeply than gaining a child that wasn't going to be able to experience, the essence of my mom. I lived in New York City at the time, and I moved to Virginia to be with her. She had brain cancer surgery a month before I was due. And then she kind of, she was just a different person after that surgery. And so I really lost her very close to giving birth. And it was very tough. I don't think I could have seen the sign for what would be a healing path forward, but I know she was happy. She knew I was pregnant. She was like, she held on to that big belly I had and was like very joyful about it before. But it just like everything else that she taught me, I guess it led me to another entrepreneurial creative path. And then, I find myself writing another book and having a cathartic moment that I don't even know how somehow it's still connected to Nalini.
Yes.
She has this power over me. I don't even understand. Like she's not here anymore, but now she is here again in my yet another venture of mine.
Tell us how motherhood changed you. Was there a moment that you felt like maybe it was during the delivery or after locking eyes with Tal that you were like, I'm a mom now?
I literally don't even understand. I'm still trying to understand the concept that someone calls me mommy. I'm the emergency contact. That I hold the insurance cards. Well, I mean, I know I'm responsible, but am I really that responsible? I don't, it's just that whole concept, I think, you go through the pregnancy, I had the baby and I did the stuff, I fed the baby, the baby's napping. I did all the things, but it still felt like I'm still a child and not having my mom with me for that. I can't believe I was like the woman in my life. I didn't have someone above me, and the person who I just gave birth to wasn't going to give me that much direction at that time. So it was life-changing in that sense that I felt like more like a child still, but Tal is awesome. I mean, she reminds me so much of my mom. I was not expecting that. Mannerisms, like sarcasm, in ways that I really wouldn't have expected. And I draw it back to there was a time in the hospital with my mom. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and she met Tal, and she was like 6 weeks old, and we call it the transfer day in the house. And we just feel like my mom's face change. I went into this hospital room and I wanted my mom to really feel that, like, I'm going to be a mom. Don't worry. Like, I'm going to do it. And I like whipped out my boob and breastfed right on my mom's like chest with Tal. It was a very powerful moment. And we always say that's the transfer moment, because like Tal after that was so calm on the drive home. My mom's eyes had changed, and I don't know, we call it the transfer day. Like something generationally happened.
So now this book it's very much Rupa and Nalini and Tal. Everyone's in here. And is there a poem that's one of your favorites?
Well, I mean, I think the genesis of the book is really my favorite part, yes. I was walking with Tal. I mean, we had just experienced a long morning of puddle jumping. She was just like, I'm sure every kid goes through this where they put on their rain boots for every single occasion. And she was just jumping a lot in these puddles. And she said, I told her she had to take a nap. We were going to go in the car. And she's like, I don't want to take a nappy. My rain boots are happy. And it was just so cute. Like the delivery, it was poetic. It reminded her delivery was like similar to my mom. And I felt inspired that night to go home and write poems from her perspective, Tal, which felt like my mom's perspective, and me about napping and a whole bunch of different things of motherhood. So I think probably the poem that sticks out to me the most is the nappy poem, that one, the last one in the book.
Yes. So my favorites I want to share now. And I think it's so humorous to see the juxtaposition across both the pages because we all feel it. So one is Happy Day. And this is from Thal's perspective. Everyone is smiling. I have cake all over my face, laughing in pictures, singing with grace. I hope every day we visit this place. And Happy Birthday is from, your vantage point. We made it. All your limbs are attached. You have your vaccines. You're standing and reaching for greatness, it seems, which is really, really sweet. And another fun one I like, because this is something that parents do all the time. And, oftentimes we don't put ourselves in our kids' shoes, but it's the poem No. So you say no much more than yes. Is this a reverse trick to do less, not more? You say no to my no. How confused are you? And imagine me, I'm only 2. The response to that is no, no, no. And it's, I promise there are so many things you can do, just none of the things I don't want for you. And it's just, they're so fun and catchy, and they're like little limericks. And I love that, as a parent especially, we can relate to both sides. And and I think it's important that we explore our kid-like selves, because we don't do that enough. And it's in there, right? Like, do you feel like
true?
Yeah.
It's so true. I feel like, the motherhood space is inundated with so many products about feeling isolated or feeling anxious or the heaviness of changing your life, which very well are all things that happen. But I feel like there was like room for like a fresh little take where like a kid looks at motherhood. My favorite movie of all time. Well, I have a lot, but this is one of is Look Who's Talking. Yes. I found it hilarious. Like I just found it hilarious, the baby talking. And I kind of wanted to take that approach to like napping, breastfeeding, all these things, comparing myself to other moms, like, what would Tal think? I'm sitting here comparing myself to another mom, and Tal's like, I have the best mom, Yes. I wanted to, and I had fun doing this book because it was fun to do illustrations around it. I felt like I was hanging out with my mom and Tal. I didn't get to memorialize my mom because of COVID and the timing of so many things. And so I had kind of put off kind of the mourning of my mom. And so it was a very cathartic experience writing this book from Tal's perspective and my perspective about all these things.
And how do you, connect with Tal in this way where, you speak about, her grandmother and just what these intergenerational connections are, and what being a mommy entails? Like, I feel like, do you have these conversations, since so much of it is captured in written form in the book?
My biggest thing is that I feel like because my daughter isn't going to meet my mother in the way that I would hope, that sometimes I put on a grandma hat. Rupa as a mom wants to go to nap on time and wants to eat on time and eat the full plate. Rupa as a grandma would probably be a bit more chill and, ask her what she's feeling and doing. And sometimes I put that hat on and it's like comforting because I feel like I can kind of channel that energy in a different way and all can experience that. So I think that's been a weird, interesting way that I've tried to combine it all.
What are some, I guess, pointers or tangible takeaways you have for parents on how to really dial in and think from your kids' perspective so that you have that bond? Because I think it's important to establish it early on, even with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. But when we're older, we are going to have teenagers someday. And I feel like if we don't have that unwavering bond from the get-go, it might be harder to establish later. So what can we do now, especially if we have young kids?
I would say the number one thing, and I think this is the culmination of Nalini Method, NaliniKIDS, and now someone calls me mommy, is flipping the question of asking a child what they want to be when they grow up, what they want to do, what are you looking forward to who are you now and what can you teach us? If you actually look at your child as a teacher for you and actually put that hat on, so genuinely, I think the world really opens up. So even, Tal is 2, I look at her as a teacher sometimes. And I'm like, I don't need to know how to do this puzzle for her. I don't need to examine exactly what I'm doing on my timeline. Like, really, what is she teaching me? And leaning into that aspect of it. I think makes a big difference. I've noticed it in NaliniKIDS as well. People of any age have so much to share, a wealth of experience. Tal might only be 2, but she's a different 2-year-old than I was,
Yeah.
And she has
absolutely.
different experiences. She's living on a farm. She's living in New York City. I grew up in Virginia. She has different takes on life. And if I make space for her to teach me, we have a more genuine moment.
And I want to give a shout out to your wonderful husband, Sam, who is so fun. And I can only imagine how animated he is as a dad. So what is he like with Doll?
He just listens to her. He just meets her on her level, always down to get down on the ground, have fun. And I think he only sees her as a teacher, which has been so great. And he's been so welcoming to the energy of my mom being in the house, he sees the similarities and the uncanny things. And he's just willing to take a step back and kind of let that energy shine for her. So I feel like she's really been the teacher in the house.
And you have a baby on the way. So tell us about, how you're feeling having the family grow. And in fact, you have another book in the works. So it's two kids on the way.
It feels like, baby boy on the way. He's due a week before Mother's Day. And, we just came out with this book. So it does feel a little bit like twins. This birth thing experience or this journey has been just so different than my experience with my daughter. So it's been interesting. I'm excited to meet him and see him, but I'm not in a hospital anymore. I'm not, going back and forth to doctors and spending night on in a hospital bed and losing my mom. So it's just a totally different experience. I'm able to be present in very different ways.
Because you live on a farm and you have, sprawling fields and nature at your doorstep, Tal doesn't know what a TV is.
No, she doesn't. I find that my day is just easier if I'm present with her in the moment. And then if I need to be on a cell phone or computer, that's a different room and that's a different time. I just feel like mixing and multitasking just doesn't work for me. So to me, it actually saves me time and stress in my day. And maybe it was a little bit harder work in the beginning. I definitely have friends that, if their kids in the car, they can put the cell phone in front and it tends to be an easier experience. But now, now she can do a 3-hour car ride and she's just telling us what she's observing out the window. But was that like that, at 5 months old, 6 months old? No. So it was harder at that time, but now it's easier. I see it in education. It's been so apparent. I talked to a third grade teacher the other day who said, my kids who are coming back to school, they don't know how to raise their hand in person, but they know how to raise their hand online. That's tough. That's tough,
Right,
if you're
right.
feeling more confident behind the scenes. And so I can't be headache free while looking at Instagram. Like I end up in like a black hole. I'll end up like researching someone's cat and like look at pictures of cats for 10 hours. Like I'm just not very savvy with that stuff. And so I think that this has just been easier for me because I'm just not naturally as much on it.
Is there a mom sense moment you can share? And by that, I mean a time where you trusted that sixth sense and intuition that we have.
I think Tal needs more space than, sometimes she's introduced to. And I feel like I just know that. Like I can tell, like when she meets someone, she can go in for a hug, but maybe she doesn't want to. And I feel like I trust my ability now to create that structure for her.
Let's not forget our quote of the day.
Is there a quote that you live by?
If you think you're too small to make a difference in the world, you haven't been in bed with a mosquito. I don't know. I just love that quote. I think it's like my 5-foot stature. I really get it. I feel it, It's so true. Like this little mosquito can like mess up your day, but also it's kind of cool that he's so powerful. So I don't know. I just
I completely agree. I've had malaria, so mosquito can do some damage.
Yes, so true.
Where can my listeners find you and your book? And most importantly, someone calls me mommy and just all the different work that you're doing.
You can buy the book at me-mommy.com, me-mommy.com. I am on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Made my little debut. My @ symbol is Rupa_mommy. And it's kind of an artistic expression of the perspective. So I'm excited about doing that. And then if your listeners are interested in kind of the free workouts for their kids to do at home, like the one-word workouts and stuff, you can go to wordworkout.org. Anxiety workout, happiness workout from kindergarten through 12th grade there. They're free and available. You don't have to even give your email address.
And then what about for those of us who, want to advocate for our kids and if you're in the education system, how can we get Nalini Method to be taught in schools near us?
Oh, I mean, you could email me directly, rupa@NaliniKIDS.org, whether you want to learn more just about how to implement it yourself in your environment, homeschool, as a parent, as a teacher. And then we definitely have materials in place to support a workshop or professional development and bringing that into your school. And, we have experience training hundreds and thousands of teachers. So whatever is the right model for your level of interest.
Yes. Thank you, Rupa. This was just the highlight of my day, my month, my year. I'm so excited for you. All the things.
This is so fun. You asked the best questions. My goodness, I feel like you made me think about honoring my mom in a different way. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you for listening to today's episode with my dear friend and soul sister, Rupa Mehta. She is truly a wonderful soul and is embracing all that her mother, Nalini, taught her and is passing that on to her kids. And it's really, really remarkable. Tune in to other episodes, and you can browse my YouTube channel for highlights of these episodes. You can just type in "That's Total Mom Sense" and it'll come up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps a ton. You can visit my link, that'stotalmomsense.com/iTunes to leave your review. Write to me at that'stotalmomsense@gmail.com and follow me on Insta at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Remember, always trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. See you next time.
That's Total Mom Sense.